Hello and welcome. My name is Zafar Iqbal, and you are watching the Mojo Story. A drone attack was launched from Lebanon towards Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's private home in Israel. Now, according to reports, multiple drones, three of them were launched from Lebanon towards Israel in the town of Caesarea on Saturday, the spokesperson of the IDF has said. But it's also made clear that the Prime Minister was not present at that place at that time in the home with his family. One of the drones did hit a building, according to reports, a structure that was damaged. It's not clear whether that was the Prime Minister's residence, but what has been reported is that Benjamin Netanyahu and his family were not present at that point in time. Two other drones were intercepted and shot down. Now, these drones were fired from Lebanon. Uh, Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu, according to reports, was not present there at the residence. Now, this drone attack comes days after Israel killed Hamas leader in Gaza. He was killed in a combat operation. He was killed in Gaza. Yahya Sinwar uh, and Hezbollah and Hamas have been saying that they will carry out more intense strikes against Israel, even as Benjamin Netanyahu had said that the war could end immediately if hostages are released and Hamas stops its combat action. But clearly, the escalation seems to be going further with the launch of this drone attack on Israel at the residence of Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, remember, Israel has a very strong defense system, anti drone and anti rocket system in place, the Iron Dome system that blocks the rockets that come into its territory. But clearly, we've seen instances where that defense system has been breached. A few days ago, a drone that was a drone attack that was carried out from Lebanon, in fact, hit one of the military installations. In fact, there were many casualties reported after that drone attack. Now, there is a war that is happening on multiple fronts in Gaza, in Lebanon. Israel has started its ground invasion in Lebanon, while as the war is still on in Gaza. It's been 1 year, and exactly 1 year later, Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas, was killed in that attack, and Israel had confirmed this, claiming that it's a big victory. But clearly, we've been seeing reports coming in that Hezbollah has said that they are going to take this war into a next phase, and we're seeing example of that today. The drone hitting a building near Netanyahu's home. It's not clear whether the building is a part of the Prime Minister's residence. Some reports suggest that it's the private residence of Netanyahu, but clearly that strike was carried out, and it was carried out from Lebanon. So clearly, the Hezbollah, whose leadership, most of its leaders have been killed by Israel, including Nasrallah, the chief of Hezbollah, have been carrying out attacks against Israel and trying to block that ground invasion, as Israel is trying to push them back to prevent rockets being fired into its territory. Now, when all of this is happening, the strikes in Lebanon, the attacks in Gaza, and the combat that's taking place in both the places, the fact is that Iran has carried out a barrage of missile strikes on Israel a few days ago. About 200 missiles that were fired at Israel, and Israel has vowed a retaliation. Israel has all along been saying that Hamas and Hezbollah are just the proxies of Iran, and Iran is the main party here that they have to deal with. But Iran has made it very clear that its embassy was bombed by Israel, and uh, the leader of Hamas, which was killed when he was there on an official visit at the ceremony, president swearing in ceremony. He was also assassinated, and Iran carried out that missile strike in a retaliation. But Israel has vowed to strike harder, and that strike hasn't come yet. There are many theories that perhaps Israel would attack Iran's nuclear installations, or it would attack oil facilities. It's not clear yet, but there are clear reports that Israel has, in fact, said that it is going to strike Iran. When that strike is going to happen, it's not clear, obviously, but it has been made made very clear by Israel that they are going to do that. On the other hand, Iran has categorically said that if Israel strikes Iran, Iran will hit back and it will be a crushing response. Iran has made that much clear. So we're seeing that going on, the escalation ladder. Both sides are, you know, going up the escalation ladder. Now we've seen lots of comments coming in. People really on both sides of the trench have been making those comments. Some are totally against the war. They say that perhaps Israel has crossed the limits. Some say that it was Hamas in the first place that carried out that terror attack on Israel, in which 1,200 people were killed, and that really triggered this war. And Israel then started bombarding Gaza, and in fact going after Hamas. But it has spread to other places as well, particularly Lebanon, South Lebanon, where Israel has struck. It's also carried out ground invasion in South Lebanon, and there is also an engagement going on with Iran. Now, in April, Iran had carried out a series of drone attacks and missile strikes on Israel, but Israel had responded that time also, but it was mostly said that that was a symbolic response. But this time around, Israel's response to ballistic missile attack, about 200 ballistic missiles that were fired at Israel. Now, Israel is going to respond more forcefully, and America has already dispatched a defense system to block any ballistic missiles. So, we're clearly seeing a big escalation in the Middle East. But the news is that a series of drones were launched from Lebanon towards Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's residence in Israel. It's a private residence. And one of the drones, according to reports, did hit a structure, a building. It is not clear whether that's a part of the compound of Prime Minister's residence. What is clear, though, it has been cleared that Benjamin Netanyahu was not present at his residence and his family were not there when that strike was carried out. But clearly, Hezbollah has been demonstrating its ability to carry out pointed strikes, targets, to pick up their targets and to carry out those strikes. We saw that earlier when Hezbollah carried out that drone strike on a military installation that hit the dining hall area of that military installation, in which there were many Israeli casualties. And now they have struck at the private residence of Benjamin Netanyahu. This comes days after Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar was killed by Israel in Gaza exactly a year later, after that the strike, after those attacks were carried out by Hamas, drawing a strong retaliation by Israel. So clearly, we're seeing a big escalation in Middle East. We've seen pager attacks, pager bomb being carried out by Israel, in which many leaders of Hezbollah were targeted in Lebanon. We've been seeing pointed strikes on targets in Israel, aerial strikes in Lebanon and in Gaza by Israel. And ground invasion also into Gaza and in southern Lebanon, and also an engagement with Iran. But we've been also seeing that drones and rockets being fired from Gaza, from Lebanon towards Israel. Most of them are blocked by Israel's defense systems like the Iron Dome, but some of them do penetrate into Israel's airspace. And according to reports, the three rockets that were fired today, one of them did actually uh, hit the it did hit a structure close to the uh, close to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's residence, but the Prime Minister was not present there at that time. Neither was his family. Those are the reports coming in. The IDF has made it clear that there were no casualties when after that drone strike, but clearly we've seen that escalation in Israel, in Gaza, and in Lebanon, where this war rages on. But there are the international community, the US, has been saying that after the death of Hamas leader, it's perhaps an opportunity to end the war. And Benjamin Netanyahu has said that it won't end the war, but this would be the beginning of the end of the war, the release of hostages, the prime condition. Remember, more than 200 people were taken away by Hamas when they carried out that attack. And there's still about 100 people that have been held hostage in Gaza. So clearly, that is the one. Israel has made it clear they don't want Hamas in picture anymore. They want it to go from Gaza. That is one of the conditions. But Hamas has clearly rejected all those conditions after its leader was killed, and they are saying that they will carry out strikes inside Israel, and they will continue to resist Israel's invasion of Gaza. So we've been seeing an escalation on multiple fronts. Israel is engaged in Gaza, it's engaged in Lebanon, and there is also an engagement happening with Iran. Israel has vowed to retaliate against Iran's missile strikes. In more than about 200 missiles were fired at Israel, and some reports did suggest that some of those missiles did hit air bases in Israel. Israel has said that it will strike back. There are many theories that are making rounds whether Israel will carry out that strike on nuclear installations of Iran, or it will carry out the attacks on uh, oil refineries or other installations in Iran. It is not clear. What is clear though is that Israel has said that it's going to retaliate, and it's also Iran's position that if Israel retaliates, Iran will hit back. So we're seeing all the parties going up the escalation ladder, and we're seeing this war getting more and more complicating and spreading more and more a year later. And today, of course, there were drones that were fired towards uh, Israel by Hamas. In fact, Hamas uh, uh, Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar was killed in Gaza, and this has happened days after that. He had been, Israel has said that it's a great victory by its forces. Now, according to reports, he had sustained multiple injuries and he had taken a gunshot in the head. And in fact, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu did make a statement after that. Let's hear that.
1 year ago, Yahya Sinwar, the terrorist chief of Hamas, launched the October 7th massacre against Israel. It was the bloodiest attack on the Jewish people since the Holocaust. It was the worst attack on the Jewish state since the founding of Israel. Sinwar's terrorists murdered in cold blood 1,200 people. That's elderly people, Holocaust survivors, children. They brutally raped women. They beheaded men. They burnt babies alive. And they took some 250 men, 251 women, men, and children hostage to the dungeons of Gaza. Today, the mastermind of this day of sheer evil is no more. Yahya Sinwar is dead. He was killed in Rafah by the brave soldiers of the Israel Defense Forces. While this is not the end of the war in Gaza, it's the beginning of the end. To the people of Gaza, I have a simple message. This war can end tomorrow. It can end if Hamas lays down its arms and returns our hostages. Hamas is holding 101 hostages in Gaza, who are citizens of 23 countries, citizens of Israel, but citizens of many other countries. Israel is committed to doing everything in our power to bring all of them home. And Israel will guarantee the safety of all those who return our hostages. But to those who would harm our hostages, I have another message. Israel will hunt you down and bring you to justice. I also have a message of hope to the peoples of the region. The axis of terror that was built by Iran is collapsing before our eyes. Nasrallah is gone. His deputy Muhsin is gone. Haniyeh is gone. Def is gone. Sinwar is gone. The reign of terror that the Iranian regime has imposed on its own people and on the peoples of Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen, this too will come to an end. All those who seek a future of prosperity and peace in the Middle East should unite to build a better future. Together, we can push back the forces of darkness and create a future of light and hope for all of us.
Right, that was Benjamin Netanyahu making that statement after the killing of Yahya Sinwar. Interestingly, some days ago, Iran's supreme leader also addressed the people of those countries. So we've been seeing this war raging on, escalating, spreading into different areas. It started with an attack on northern Israel by Hamas and a retaliation by Israel on Gaza, and now then it spread it to Lebanon, to northern, where a ground invasion started by Israel. Top leadership of Hamas and top leadership of the Hezbollah have been eliminated by Israel as this war rages on. So clearly the situation is escalating. There are lots of tweets that are also coming in. In fact, people have been reacting to these developments. Of course, there are lots of reactions that are coming in, and people have been reacting to all these developments one after the other. This war as it continues today, a big breaking story, a big development that's taken place, that drones were fired at the residence of Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel, at his private residence, confirmed by the Israeli forces, but also saying that there were no casualties in that drone attacks. In fact, 2 of the drones were shot down, and 1 drone managed to hit the structure in that area. It is not clear. Whether that was a part of Prime Minister's residence, but he was not present there. He was not present there, and neither were his family. You know, this comes days after the killing of Hamas leader in Gaza, in Rafah. The attack that was the attack that Israel said was based on an intelligence input. That encounter that took place and that led to his death. Now, days later, we've been seeing a drone attack, multiple drones fired from Lebanon towards Israel, towards the private residence of the Prime Minister. That drone strike that hitting a building near Netanyahu's home. We'll keep a close track of this story and bring you more related developments. But for now, thanks so much for tuning in and for joining the Mojo Story.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.